a little early. It's only like 5 minutes to 3 my time. But I'm bored. And when I'm bored, I gotta do something. Here's book 3. I call it The Siege. That may change later. I don't know yet. Book 3, Chapter 1. System L3812, Sol 2.2, 2.0. This star system is an exact match to the Sol system, where Earth used to orbit the Sun, but no more. She was destroyed by the Empire by the battle station Dark Star. On this planet, Earth, the great Roman Empire, which existed some 3,000 years ago, once arrived and inhabited two-thirds of this planet. They lived on to conquer every square meter of this earth except Central and South America, where the Inca Empire thrived. That's the reason why I called book 2 what it is. I was waiting for you guys to figure that out. Got the idea for the parallel Earth from Star Trek to TOS. Okay, back in. The Romans spread across the planet, building Roman cities, roads, colosseums, great circuses, and all, spreading the Roman way to all corners except where the Inca Empire occupied. Cities like Washington, D.C., on Earth, our Earth. Sorry, give me a second. I'm adding stuff as I go. Are replaced with a provincial capital. However, it is devoid of intelligent life. Wildlife thrives here, though. Sometime around 500 years ago, 5 centuries, the people of this earth have disappeared, gone, not a trace. In high Earth orbit, it's a space station similar to the International Space Station, the ISS, but with the remains of a large ring around the axis to create artificial gravity. Interesting. The station has I can't say that word, deteriorated over the centuries, however, it still retains some power from numerous solar panels. Research teams from Centauri Command. Sorry, I gotta change something. All right, Dylan. Centauri Command, Centauri Prime, are now on the planet, exploring the ruins of once great Roman cities, towns, and villages. And many great Roman roads span the surface as well. During the early exploration of the surface, they discovered an abandoned space center in North America, located in what is now known as Florida, and a second one in Central America along the Amazon River. But sometime in the past, as Roman legions were exploring the American Southwest, they made first contact with an Incan army, and war ensued. Woohoo! Not good. But both sides fought a bloody battles after bloody battle. Yeah, right. Add that. Give me a second. I'm just changing some stuff. Okay. Using early flintlock muskets, firearms, The Romans had made contact with the Chinese Empire and had conquered it. The Inca armies had developed their flintlock muskets before then too. The Inca were probing into the interior of the North American continent when they encountered the Roman Legion. The war went on for years. Then finally, both sides sat down to settle their differences. They built a great wall that extended from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Coast, and was guarded on both sides by Romans and Incas alike. The wall still stands today, 500 years after the inhabitants left. Some gates open up to allow travelers and merchants to pass through in peace, protected by Roman and Inca garrisons alike. All right, I need a drink. Now you know why I called book 2 Roman Earth 2 Mark 2. Because this is why. They find an Earth exactly like ours. Some minor modifications, a little bit bigger than our Earth. Many monuments exist on this Earth, like they did once upon a time on the late lamented Earth. The Washington Monument stands in this Washington, D.C., as do the Great Pyramids, the Great Wall of China, and Mount Rushmore. But it had all been Romanized. However, despite its expansion, it thrived for approximately 2,000 years before suddenly leaving the planet for unknown destinations. Christianity bloomed on this planet and replaced Roman gods. Slavery had been abolished long ago. Gladiatorial games were replaced by an early version of soccer, football. And so with the Roman Empire, the only superpower on this earth until they encountered the Inca, the Industrial Revolution started a century earlier than it did on Earth. Our Earth. Sorry, changing that. Doing some editing as I read, seeing changes I can make, errors I made. Steam power replaced the sail and horse-drawn plows worldwide. Electricity was developed by Nikola Tesla in the early 1860s. I need to change that. I have 1880s. Let's change that even more. 1940s. Sorry. 50 years before it was discovered on Earth. The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell 30 years before it was invented on our Earth. And the English language would become the primary language worldwide. At schools attended by all, no matter their status or skin color. Latin would still be used for religious services and whatnot. Sorry. With no hope of settling peacefully with the Inca, the Romans began building the Augustus Wall. Wall is 10 feet thick by 100 feet tall, with garrisons positioned every mile from the Gulf Coast of Texas to the Pacific Coast of Southern California. Well, I'll just put Pacific Coast. There were some skirmishes along the wall, but nothing escalated into a full-scale war between the two great powers. Computers were developed in the 1930s with small, room-sized mainframes. In the 1940s, the integrated circuit was created, and the top computer emerged. And so the people of this Earth were years ahead of the Earth. Stephen Spears and Sepp Dietrich were familiar with. They did not split the atom, so no nuclear power and no nuclear warheads. So no atomic war. But they harnessed the power of wind, water, and geothermal power. It appears to help them escape. Excuse me, this Earth space. Let me change that. Sorry, guys. Go back in and change these. As I go along, I'll make changes as I'm done reading. Okay, that explains book 2. What you read at the end, what you heard at the end of the second book. They find the Earth. The Romans ruled this Earth. Not all of it, but majority of it. All right, on to the rest. My God, the Romans ruled almost everywhere on this Earth, but they had softened their rule over. Softened their rule over their subject peoples. Captain Sir Stephen T. Spears says as he, Commander Rigo L. Rena, and Captain Sepp Dietrich walked along an abandoned boulevard in the provincial capital of North America, Caesar Augustus City, better known as Washington, D.C. Bingo! They sure did, Stephen, Captain Sepp Dietrich says. Captain Sepp Dietrich of the SS Eagle says. So where'd they all go? Rena asks now, looking up the massive obelisk called the Caesar Augustus Monument, brand known as the Washington Monument. She sees numerous rusted out flagpoles at its base surrounding it, all empty of any banners. They can see significant events in the Roman ruler's history carved on the four sides of the massive monument, depicting his great victories, many of which are familiar to Stephen and Sepp, but many are only native to this Augustus's history in this world. Interesting. I wish I only knew Rena. Stephen says he takes pictures of the massive villa that's familiar to Stephen and Sepp, Executive Mansion, aka the White House. However, this villa is significantly larger than the White House, spanning 6 acres of land compared to the White House's 4 acres. It features numerous balconies and columns throughout the structure. But it looks almost like the White House he knew. Sorry, I had to stop for a minute. Okay. I need a drink. Sorry. I have a kitty in my room with me. All right. We'd better get back to the Eagle, kids. Sepp says as he looks at his life support gauge on his EVA suit that he and that too are wearing. Roger that, Skipper, Stephen says. They all walk back up the mall to the base of the Augustus Monument to board the Eagle. The main hatch closed and sealed. The ramp retracted into its ventral position beneath the hatch. For safety reasons, every team of scientists and visitors wears an EVA suit, at least until they can figure out what happened to the people on this planet. There are no signs of a plague or a war that could wipe out humans here. They did go up and leave for points unknown. Okay. He's not even there. Scratch that story. Scratch that. Get that one. There were numerous birds in the sky and the tree and in the trees surrounding the city as well. These oceans teemed with life. All right. It's a 16-page chapter, guys, so I'm going to be reading for a while. Take a little break. Actually, you know what? I'll be right back. I'm going to give me something to drink. Then I'll be right back. What's up, little boy? Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. I got thirsty. But I took care of it. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Top of page 4. That's where I'm at. Let me get a drink. A little soda. All right. Ladies first, Rena. Sep says as the hatch opens, then the gangway slides out. Their free end sets down on the ground and the vibrant green grass underneath. And a bright blue glow fills the open hatch, leading to the interior. The SS Eagle is an NY 1520 cargo vessel out of Centauri Prime. She initially came from Earth, but that was before the Empire destroyed it with their Dark Star. Due to the Imperial blockade, okay. Sorry, forget that. Scratch that. Some stuff I could change and delete. Stephen had told Princess. Oh. Dude, hold on. Forget that. Sorry, changing that back. Changing that. All right, back to. I had to go back and do some changes. Sorry. Due to the Imperial blockade of the Centauri Prime system, Stephen had told Julia Lurkin Spears, his twin sister and his wife, to stay behind. Plus, she had just given birth to twin daughters, Julianne and Sarah Ann. Both identical twins, have mismatched eyes like their parents, but both were healthy and strong. Plus, with the blockade as strong as it is, the king had decreed that Julia remain behind to keep the people's spirits up. So they do hope that the blockade will be broken and not think that the royal family was running on them, abandoning them. Plus, against her father's protestations, Julia is training to be a samurai warrior under the tutelage of Natuk and some of the other senior samurai warriors now living on Centauri Prime. She's far more adept at the skills of a samurai warrior, both physically and mentally. She can communicate telepathically over greater distances than Stephen can. Sorry, changing that a little bit. And lift heavier objects than he can. She's even constructed her own sword hilt in hopes of passing her challenges and visiting the face of Mars. And you know what? I told you about that too. As the inner door. Sorry. I gotta change that. Sorry. As the outer door closes behind Rena, the inner hatch, the Eagle opens, and decontamination beams envelop the opening. Your turn, Ace. Sorry, forget that. She walks in, the inner door closes, the outer door reopens, and the beams reappear. Rewrite all that again. Your turn, Ace, Sep says. Thanks, Skipper. Smiling as he starts up the ramp. He passes through the beam and gets struck by the tingly vibrations of the beam as it passes over his EVA suit, hopefully eliminating any germs native to this planet. All explorations of this planet are conducted in these suits until the atmospheric tests are completed, and they are being done from orbit by science ships from member worlds of the Rebellion. As the outer hatch closes behind him, he deactivates the EVA suit, and it reverts to its shoulder pad configuration for stowage in the airlock as the inner hatch opens to the crew compartment of the Eagle. Sorry. He passes through the inner decontamination beams and into the crew compartment. Rena hands him a cup of juice as he does. I hate those things, he says. His body's still tingling from passing through both beams. Ugh. I'd be nervous. I'd be a little tingly too. So do I, Skipper. Rena says. But the science geeks want to keep us safe, as well as not spreading any possible germs native to this planet to other worlds in the Rebellion. I know. But I can still hate it, right? Steven says, smiling. All right. As they hear the guttural mumblings and curses of Sep as he passes through the first decontamination beam, all in Germany. A moment later, the inner hatch opens and he passes through the second beam, cursing even more so in German. Gotta hate those things, Sep says, looking at the beam as it turns off by itself. We all do stuff. I was just saying that a moment ago. But we must follow the science geek said. Follow what the science geek said before we came here. Steven says. Sorry. All exploration teams on the surface must wear an EVA pack when conducting surface exploration and go through decontamination protocols before returning to their ship. I know, but I can still complain about it, can't I? Right? I know, but I can still complain about it, right? Except asks, refusing. I'm sorry, nodding and tingling. That city sure reminds me of Washington D.C. back on Earth. Steven says as he looks at pictures he took of the villa and the provincial capital and the giant obelisk. And to think that for 2,000 years, the Romans ruled almost all of this planet. There were no wars, famine, or starvation. It advanced faster than you people did on your Earth. Too, Stephen, says. Their industrial revolution started a full century before ours did, says. Computers were even developed faster here than on Earth. They had the integrated chip in the 1940s. That says a lot. You people had it in the 1970s. Nikola Tesla developed the working light bulb a full 20 years ahead of Thomas Edison on Earth. And they had the telephone a full 20 years ahead of your people. And they did not develop atomic energy or the atomic bomb, Steve says. They ruled with no iron fist, but with compassion. Slavery was abolished, and the gladiatorial games were no more. This earth prospered under Roman rule. Christianity replaced the Roman gods, too. Interesting. They harnessed geothermal power and somehow managed to harness it to power their spaceships. And somehow they kept the peace on this earth for some 2,000 years. At the same time, the Roman declined and ultimately died in 410 AD on your earth. Sorry. Changing anything. That's because they softened their stance on slavery, abolishing it altogether, Sepp says. They embraced Christianity and banning the Roman gods. It had ended poverty worldwide, along with hunger. But maybe I'm changing things as I see it. A lot of changes I've made so far. I don't know how many changes I've added. There's 2 right there on my first page. Dietrich, I'm about to jump the eagle to warp. Could you guys stop your philosophical chat and come to the cockpit? Baroness Guilford J. Barra calls from the cockpit. We all take seats in the cockpit of the Eagle as Dietrich takes his customary left-hand seat. As Guilford is in the co-pilot seat, filling in for Natuk while he remains on prime. Stephen takes a seat behind Sepp. At the same time, Rena remains at the navigation station just behind and to the left of the cockpit. Course laid in and set for bad guys, old Baroness? Sepp asks now. Affirmative, Captain. Baroness Guilford J. Barra says. Lift off and let's make for orbit. And the beta guys will please, Sepp says. Brace yourselves, takeoff can be a bit rough for me, the Baroness says. An eagle kicks up a lot of dust, dirt, and grass as it lifts off from the mall. A lot of reading. They make orbit and head for Beta Geisel and Geisel City. Excuse me. Stephen and the others adjourn to quarters in the crew compartment of as Eagle makes for hyperspace. Can't read. They pass Mars, not terraformed. The face of Mars is in place here in System L3812, along with the other planets in the solar system. Yeah, this is an exact match to the Earth, our system. Just the Romans. Guys, I'd love for all of you to come forward to the cockpit, Sepp calls over the intercom. What's going on? We've dropped out of warp. Steven says, sitting up and getting out of his bunk. To find out, Steven, Rena says as she walks forward to the cockpit. Steven and his Geiselian friend move forward to the cockpit through the crew compartment where Sepp and Gilfor. Gotta change that. I still have. I took where Sepp and Gilfer sit in their seats and look at the targeting monitor. They see what appears to be metallic debris directly ahead. Some are large and massive, and a large gun barrel floats into view. Oops. Wonder what's going on there. We're entering a massive debris field of some sort. It appears that a battle took place here, but nothing in the most recent history. It fills space for parsecs too, some 200 light years across. We picked up the debris field on long range scanners. Until they find out why. It's gonna be something I don't know yet. Can we go around it? Rena asks. No, uncharted space, Gilfer replies now. We are approaching two massive objects floating in the middle of the field, Sepp says. And some of the debris is massive enough to put a big dent in the girl. Bango. Ouchie. That did hurt. None of this debris field is on our charts. So this battle has to predate the old GFS. Baroness Gilfer J. Barra says, not looking at anyone. Her hands on the flight controls in front of her. It all has analog gauges, but there are numerous computer displays around the compact, oblong, cone-shaped bridge cockpit. Change that. Sorry. Let's get back and make these changes. Two large triangle-shaped viewports are positioned above and forward of the pilots, with a targeting monitor located between them. There are some keyboards and numerous keypads on a console in front of him. According to the size of the two massive objects ahead, one is some 3,000 meters long. That is huge. The other is 2,500 meters long, Steven says as he goes over the sensor monitors. Palmerian battlecruiser and Tularian battle missile cruiser, Baroness Guilford says, matter-of-factly. No need to worry about the ships ahead. The two races went extinct some 75,000 years ago. Oops. During a war between the two races, their home worlds went extinct during the final battle. I'm going to change that, sorry. Now I got to go back in. Oh, there it is. I have some changes I need to make, but I will. Never heard of them, Seb says. Not many people have. They went extinct at the same time both races were engaging in this final battle. We have a pretty good idea what they looked like from the fragmented remains of the Pomerian race. They resembled your dinosaurs on Earth, but were bipedal. She brings up a three-dimensional image of a Pomerian skull. That's in one of my notebooks. I drew one on the targeting monitor. A skull that resembles a Triassic ceratopsian creature that lived on Earth some 66 million years ago. Triceratops. Imagine that. But smaller, human size, human-like, human form, bipedal. Okay. They operated out of the Great Cloud. We know it better as Large Magellanic Cloud, LMC. Well, the Tellurian race originated from the Lesser Cloud. We better know it better as the Small Magellanic Cloud, the SMC. Why then did they fight a war in the Milky Way galaxy? Stephen asks. The history of the two races is fragmentary, but they were exploring the galaxy when they encountered each other. Battles ensued, but no one race could win a decisive battle, the Baroness says. So as a final resort, both races engaged in a final battle somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy. And at the same time, both races launched attacks on the opposing homeworlds of the two races, wiping out the two species altogether. I keep finding stuff I can change. Sorry if I keep going in and making changes, but I need to fix some stuff as I go. From what fragments we have of the Tellurian race, they were descended from a simian race evolved on their homeworld. Simian, ape-like race. Rena says. Almost similar to the Vogon simians of Vogon 3, right? Changing that. Seth asks. He's had a few run-ins with them over the years. Nasty creatures, but very loyal to no one government. Some fight for the Empire, some fight for the Rebellion. Could they be a living descendant of the Tellurian race? Well, we're coming up on the smaller of the two wrecks in a few seconds. Sep says. The massive vessel was a dark brownish color with emerald green accents on the side pods. The first 400 meters forward of the side pods are missing from the bow as the bow of the vessel loomed from out of the darkness. As there were no working lights to guide the eagle to the wreck, just the eagle's sensors. They can make out firing tubes as well as assumed from archaeological records with two gun. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I gotta see. They can make out firing tubes as assumed from archaeological records from the two guns, one fore, one aft, the main ship's superstructure. The forward bubble turret was a total loss, just obliterated. Well, the aft section was completely intact. But the assumed to be the ship's bridge was exposed to the atmosphere space as well as some sections of the main hull. That's Tellurian, all right. A Tellurian battle missile cruiser. Rena says, what a wreck. Sep says as they pass along the starboard side of the massive hull, and Gelfar takes scans of the wreck at the same time. Steady art, first time, Sep, Baroness says, to remind him. Your race was just learning to make fire. How to make fire. These two races were exploring the galaxy. Touche, Baroness. Sep says, we're coming up on the second wreck in a moment. They pass the stern of the wreck. Can make out a looming object off in the distance. It looks to be turtle up, belly up. The bow is intact, but the sensor pod and the keel is gone. Obliterated. There's more gaping holes than on the Tellurian vessel. The two guns are there, forward of the superstructure, but the second turret, located behind the intact one, is a total loss. The bridge area is exposed to space. There are many gashes along the hull, port and starboard, and a gaping hole in the keel that comes out just forward of the forward gun turret. Pomeranian heavy battle cruiser, Rena says. Captain, I'm picking up a signal from inside the wreck. Gelfar says, surprised. Where? How? Sep asks. As they are near midship, middle of the ship. I don't know, I've got to go and change some stuff. Where is 10 meters ahead? Our current course and down 10 meters, Captain. The Baroness says. The how? I have no idea, but I am picking up power from inside the wreck. So I gotta give you a drink. I'm not even close to finished. I still got about 10 pages to read. It looks similar to one of our Fairchild battle cruisers, Gelfar says. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does, friend. Be careful of that wreckage ahead, Sep says. He died. Sorry, I gotta change one little thing. He dives down to avoid a huge bulkhead protruding from the massive hull. It then comes. The Eagle then comes to a stop along the hull and inverts the Eagle. So does its belly up along the aft end of an enormous gash in the hull that goes through to the other side of the ship. He can see stars and more debris through the massive gash. So, Sep, Stephen, and Rena don the EVA suits, shoulder pads, and activate the suits as the outer hatch opens to the vacuum of space. It's a set of 3 zip lines that shoot out to attach to the girders and chunks of metal attached to the hull of the ship. From here, we go aft 20 meters and then down 15 meters to the deck where the power source is. Rena says that they attach lines to the zip lines, then slide across the gap between the Eagle and the wreck. That magnetic boot secures them to the roof of the dimly lit room. Change that. The dimly lit hall, the light coming from lights that attach to their shoulder packs. They stand on what should be the ceiling of the companionway. It is long and shaped like a wide-angled hall, with one side formed into an angle that slopes down to a point half a meter above the floor. The other side is flat, the whole length. They can see some closed and half open hatches in both walls and weird scratches in the walls. Pomerian, Rena says as she studies the scratches, and she also records all they see with a microcam built into her helmet. This is an amazing ship, Steve says as he runs his hand along the wall on his right. My right. As he looks into one room after another, seeing what appears to be quarters for the now long dead extinct crew. The light is coming from the shoulder mounted lights on his pack. Everything appears to be perfectly preserved as the ship has been exposed to the vacuum of space for 75,000 years. He also notes the appearance of many small metal rings lining the floor of many compartments. Storage media, Arena says as she picks one up from the floor. Here's where we go down, Sep says. They reach an open portal in the port wall, that side, my left. Beyond the hatch, there's nothing they can do. They can go beyond. The entire companionway, nothing beyond, they can go past that hatch. It's blocked by battle damage. All right. Stephen looks up and down into the bottomless pit, seeing girders and such along the wall of the shaft. Everyone now steps into the shaft, walking along the starboard side of the shaft using their magnetic boots. They can see many open hatches and some closed. As they walk down the shaft. It's 15 meters from here now. See, Rena says as they start down the shaft. I'm picking up a signal of some sort coming from ahead of us, too, Sep says. Weird, Steve says. As they reach the open hatch to the new companionway leading to the source of the power. Now we go 5 meters down the companionway, Rena says, looking at her science scanner. This signal sounds like someone trying to talk. But I have no idea what they're saying. Sep says, with a faint, barely audible voice in his earphones. Pomerian. Not many people can understand what this race is saying, as they've been extinct for some 75,000 years. My people have been able to translate some of their language, but not completely. There are some 200 characters in their language alone. That's a lot of characters. Okay, well, give me a drink. I hope you like it so far. A lot of reading. I only have 6 more pages to read in this chapter. This is 200. There are some 300 characters in their language alone. Sorry. They continued down the companionway to the partially open hatch into a well-lit room. The light fills the hall beyond the open hatch. They enter and see many monitors lit up, but most are just spiderwebbed from battle damage. Some show star charts for the period. Many also display the lettering in the Pomerian language. They see what appears to be ancient Pomerian keyboards lining the walls of the large room. And littered around the room were more storage media rings on the floor. And some large, above normal human-sized chairs are placed across the room along the sides. They hear from speakers in the room. What the hell is that? Stephen asks. Sounds like gibberish. Pomerian language. Mina says as she touches a couple buttons on her sign scanner. Do not attempt to go any further on this cursed vessel. We are a doomed race. A voice fills the room now. We managed to translate most of the Pomerian language over the years, Mina says, speaking of her Gazelian people. Stephen picks up a small palm-sized metal ring and looks at it, seeing scratches along the top and bottom. Stephen, please pick up as many as you can carry in your pouch. Mina says she picks up a couple dozen of the rings on the floor. Yeah, interesting little tidbit. I actually drew ships to wrecks. I gotta find them. I don't know what the hell? Sepp says as he stumbles on a large, mummified Pomerian crewman lying on the floor out of sight, and a smaller one lying next to the larger one. Their bodies appear perfectly preserved, having been exposed to the vacuum of space for an extended period. Both wear the tattered remnants of a uniform, their rank badges and such, adorning their chests and bodies. Wow, perfectly preserved Pomerian body. Una says as she kneels to examine the body. Baroness, would you please call Beta Geisel and Essen to send out some tugs? These ships need to be examined thoroughly. She says over the two-way radio built into the helmet over her head. Argerina, the Baroness says. They make their way back to the Eagle, gathering up as many of the small rings as they can, and taking videos and still pictures of the room. Just as the power shuts down, the power is not nearly depleted, but we need her needed to conserve it. Look at this, guys. Stephen says there's a near breach in the hull, and there appears to be a pod attached to the side of the hull. I wonder what this is. I had no idea, kid. Sepp says they look into the interior of the pod and see what appears to be a new skeletal, perfectly preserved remains of human-sized apes inside. Oops. I may hazard to say this could be a Tellurian boarding party, Mina says. She takes videos and stills of the interior of the vessel. They return to the ship with a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, videos, and pictures of the vessel. The Baroness also reports that heavy-duty space tugs will return here in about 3 days to retrieve the two wrecks. Hard to believe that a ship that old could still have power after so many millennia in space like that, Stephen says. I know, but the power came online after we appeared next to the wreck. I am theorizing that the ship sensed our presence and turned on power, thinking we were more Pomerians here to rescue the crew. But we were 75,000 years too late for that, Sepp says as they sit in the cockpit of the Eagle. The ship at warp now. Is at warp now. Okay, sorry, my friends. Realize I'm going to take this. I think I have a longer one later in the book. I don't remember. All right, I need a drink. That's one of my little surprises. No, I'm not done yet. I got more surprises in store. The two surprises I wanted you guys to wait for me to read that. All right. Centauri Prime, new homeworld for the human race and their friends, the Centauri government and the Nagano warrior race, and a key member of the growing Rebel Alliance. But the Empire has imposed an embargo on ships entering and leaving the system, laying siege to the entire system. Excuse me. But the system is very self-sufficient in that they grow their crops, manufacture their goods, and so on. One thing they're short on is, I gotta change it, manpower. This sounds wrong saying workforce, which is what I said I had. They do have fighters, cargo vessels, and warships, but they are short on, again, manpower. Most of the goods produced, crops harvested, and droids are used for such purposes. So to conserve what work for it. I hate this. I'll just change it by. Okay, so to conserve what manpower they do have in the war effort, and to protect the home system and surroundings, including Centauri Prime. But even when the Empire has tried to crush the will and break through the defenses, the Centauri High Command is always prepared to defend the system. The Empire does stage nuisance raids on the system, but they are just that, nuisance raids. Whenever a farming moon is attacked, the crops are replaced by those of the other farming moons in the system. The people of Centauri Prime do not worry about food shortages, power outages, or famine from lack of drinking water. Nope. The Centauri Prime fleet protects the moons in the system that have atmospheres. There are 5 moons each with its own atmosphere, which is used to grow crops. One of the moons is water covered and is used to harvest fish and other resources. And 5 more are used as manufacturing and repair facilities. So food, water, and all essentials to sustain life on Prime and their colonies have not been affected by the Empire's blockade of the system yet. The royal family has not left Centauri Prime. They have stood fast on their promise to the people of the system. They shall not. They shall stand fast because the people beside the people through the situation, not a crisis. Nobody is starving, and no rationing has been imposed to ensure that the people of the system are fed. Foodstuffs are plentiful for all, regardless of their race and social status. Air raid shelters have been erected in every city, town, and village across the planet for all to share equally. There's one even beneath the royal palace that is open to all, no matter their status. And the royal family comes out every day to show that they are still very much alive and still on prime, having not abandoned their people to suffer alone. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I was a little. In a recent raid, the palace was hit. The queen was injured, suffering a broken jaw, lacerations, and a dislocated shoulder. At the same time, the people rallied around the royals as they suffered alongside them during the raid. Many people were wounded, a few killed, but still the king had vowed that the palace would remain damaged until after the blockade was lifted. His people come first for the welfare of his own family. The queen even agreed, as did Princess Julia Lurkin Spears, their daughter. She suffered lacerations to her face during a recent visit to a town to check on the people there. And a nuisance raid happened. She is the proud mother of twin daughters, Julianne and Sarah. Both were born with the same mismatched colored eyes as their parents. Every day, the royal family appears in public, reassuring the people that they have not abandoned them. Against her father's protest, she's even now training to be a samurai warrior like Stephen, her husband. Training under the tutelage of Natuk and Stephen, her husband, who is off-world trying to recruit more pilots for the system's defense. But she's shown an affinity for swordplay and can communicate telepathically, move objects with her mind better than Stephen can, and erect barriers, deflect blaster bolts at her and other targets. Today, Julia is out in the royal skiff early in the morning to visit all the cities, towns, and villages on the planet to gain insight into the people's thoughts and feelings about the blockade and to understand their needs. The skiff is nondescript in that it does not fly the royal crest of our family anywhere on it, but is escorted by 4 destroyers positioned around the vessel as it skims along the choppy ocean. Sorry. A large trimaran, which means it has 3 hulls, and I had just wrote, she added that. Ocean-going vessel with a rigid sail and a 45 millimeter automatic blaster cannon in the forward area of the ship, forward of the pilot house. It looks like any everyday cargo carrying vessel to any passing Imperial ship from orbit. It also features a flight of 4 T-wing starfighters for escort. However, all boats on the planet are escorted by these same means. The skiff does carry supplies to be distributed when and where needed. And of course, Freetown Chief, Stephen says, Julia says, as she points to a digital map display that she and the pilot can see even from wherever they both may be at any time. Freetown is a town that was only recently attacked by scorpions, suffering minor damage to the port facilities and its power station. Damage was repaired, but the power core was slightly damaged. She has no idea how the imps can get through their defenses so easily with these nuisance raids. Planetary defenses are strong, but still, some of these raids are getting to be a problem. She knows that Lieutenant Commander Hannah Baxter is doing her best with her limited resources, trying to protect the system and our homeworld simultaneously. Hannah's lost some good pilots taking out these raiders, but not as many as her father, the king, Stephen and Rena, had feared. I'm so happy our Nagano brethren sent out their ships to help defend the oceans, Julia says. As a flotilla of some 6 surface vessels cruise by, flying at the standard of their friends. So am I, Your Highness, the pilot says, nodding. I needed that. Freetown is only a couple hundred kilometers south of the capital city, and only a few days ago suffered a raid on their fort facilities and the power core. Royal skiff pulls into the port and docks to no fanfare for Julia's safety, of course, as well as a couple thousand people living here. The garrison was hit, but only lightly. Hannah and her people appeared the moment the attack began, taking out the Scorpions and the fighter bombers. Sorry. Julia is greeted happily by people who still adore the royal family, even after what happened. Some smoke rises from the warehouses and some homes along the seaport. I'm gonna change that one. God bless it. Sorry guys, I gotta call it quits. Damn it. Uh, Sorry, I had a little accident in my room. I had a great time. Yes. Idiot. Sorry, my friends. Accident. Sorry, I'm back. Have an accident. Drinking problem. I can't drink. Alright. I forgot where I was. I knocked my damn drink cover and spilled it all over the floor. My bed. My achy. How you doing, my friend? You all right? I'm just about actually finished with chapter 1. All right. No worries. No worries. I just had a little accident. I spilled my soda all over the floor and I had to clean it all up. That's why I was stopped. You hadn't seen me for a few minutes. I was had to see you online when I came. Sat down. But nice to see you, my friend. I think you'll like it because I explained the title of book 2 at the beginning of chapter 1. I will give you ideas as science exploration teams, mapping team, galactic mapping team is out and they find a second Earth system with another Earth in it. Complete. Everything's up replicated. Earth, Mars, Venus, Mercury, everything. Except for this one, the Romans rule 2/3 of the Earth. And Inca rule the rest, South and Central America. But that's as far as I'm going to go on that. We'll finish it. I only have a couple more pages to read. I call my book The Siege. You'll see why once because that's just an idea. I don't know if I'm going to keep that title. I might change it again. Because I have an idea for it after, once I get back to chapter, when I finish reading chapter 7. And I'm making changes as I go along. Typing errors, spelling errors, here and there. But, all right, I finished reading. I only have 2 more pages after this, including after this one to read. I'm so happy that our Nagano brethren send out their ships to help defend the oceans. Julia says as a flotilla, some 6 surface vessels cruises by, flying the standard of their friends. So am I, Your Highness, the pilot says, nodding. Freetown is only a couple hundred kilometers south of the capital city, and only a few days ago suffered a raid on their port facilities and the power core. The royal skiff pulls into the port and docks to no fanfare for Julia's safety, of course, as well as a couple people living here. The garrison was hit, but only lightly. Hannah and her people appeared at the moment the attack began, taking out the Scorpions and the fighter bombers. Okay. Julia is greeted happily by people who still adore the royal family, even after what happened. Some smoke rises from warehouses and some homes along the seaport, but the fires have been put out. Sorry, I'm putting. Where was I at? have been out for a few days since the raid. She smiles as people come forward to greet her, thanking her as she passes through the crowd. It's okay, my friends, she says as she walks along. My father, my mother, and I are still here. We will not abandon Centauri Prime and our people. Come to the gymnasium in 15 minutes. I will listen to any problems, needs, gripes, or praises you all may have, and forward it to my father, your king. She still bears the scar from her wounding when she was slashed across her face by a flying shard of clear Lexan during a raid just recently. She and the town's leaders lead walk to the damaged areas of town. Sorry, I gotta change something. Making changes I gotta do as I go once I finish reading. Minimal as it is, thankfully, it was mostly centered around the town's own port district and the small garrison on the outskirts. Then to the power core, which is even now back up to full power, only days after the raid. She now walks into the gymnasium, sets up a conference table near the rear of the large room, setting up recording devices and video equipment so that people here can talk openly and freely. What do you think so far? You like it? Yeah, maybe a little slow at the beginning because I do a little history. I do go a little overboard on my history. All right. Let them in, please, she says, rocking the bassinet. The twins sleep next to her. At the same time, the skiff at the port, at the dock, is unloaded of its cargo of food, water, and more medical supplies, something the king sends with her to every town she visits. People from the city and the ship's crew work together to offload the supplies. Strong a throng of some 200 people walk into the room, chatting among themselves, but not a one has a complaint about the situation at hand. They talk about the harvest that is now coming in. Out in the fields outside town, the garrison did its best to protect the city and its people from the raiders. All right, two more chapters, two more pages. Sorry, my friends. Okay, my friends, you know what happened just days ago. A raid of scorpions hit your town. She says, rising to her feet now. Please, one at a time. Please come forward. Let me know if you have any problems, what needs you may have. Anything. It will be passed on to my father in full, I promise. And as you can see, your royal family has not abandoned you. We will stay here to the end of this blockade no matter what. My mother, the queen, suffered injuries, as did I, in recent raids. However, we do not let our needs take precedent over the needs of our people. I have brought more medical supplies to a medical center, more food and water, even though from the sounds of it you do not need it. But it is there for you. Now come forward and one at a time and speak into the recorders or directly to me. You will be recorded on video for my father to watch and listen to. Do not hesitate to express yourselves openly and directly. Father is not a king who takes action against such words. He listens and tries to improve himself. If you have a problem, if anything comes up that needs to be fixed, it is a problem for him or anything. I added that. She sat there listening to the townspeople as they thanked her father for showing his concern for their lives, ensuring they had everything they needed to thrive in the midst of all that is happening worldwide. There are no food shortages, no power outages, and nothing has affected the people in this blockade. Yes, the CPDC, Centauri Prime Defense Command, is somewhat stretched and stretched thin in terms of its manpower. Sorry, I gotta change one more thing. Stuff I gotta go back in and rewrite later. I'll redo it, no problem. To operate the fighters and ships. Despite all that, the Empire is still unable to break through the outer defenses, protecting the system's inhabitants. Largest farming moons and fisheries are still in the hands of the Centauri Prime government. Which is not a bad thing. You did a fine job, Princess. The Sir Chief of Security says as they board the skiff. Sorry. I got pictures of those too. If you want, I'll show them to you if I can find them. Thank you, Paul. Spelled P-O. Julia says as she sits in the cabin and watches as the crew pulls in the mooring lines and the skiff pulls away and makes way south to the subsequent settlement along the coast. Subsequent settlements. Settlement along the coast. She will meet with as many people on her home world as she can before making for Prime City by midnight. It's a 26-hour day, so that's a long day. 1,300 hours is midday on her world. Your husband is a hero to me, Julia, Paul says. As he starts the engine, gets the royal skiff underway, and pulls away from the dock slowly. Yes, he is, my friend, Julia says. You're from Earth, correct? Yes, I was. I was from the English Union, European Confederation, Paul says. My parents were in London when it happened. I was watching them via video link. Let me just add one little change. Sorry. Rewriting that and some stuff. When the screen went blank. I had no idea that the Empire had wiped the Earth out. In that moment, until I saw the news broadcast. I am so sorry, Paul, Julia says. I will always be a big supporter of your family, no matter what. Even if I were not your guard, Princess, Paul says, smiling as he cranks the engine to full power and the massive rigid sail deploys. You stand up for the commoner and not just for yourself. Father cares for his people, and so do I, my friend, Julia says, smiling. All right, last paragraph. The day goes on peacefully as T-wings and Y-wings zoom across the oceans and plains to Centauri Prime. In orbit, a fleet of rebel ships stands fast to protect the home world from Imperial incursions. Plus, more ships patrol along the outer reaches of the system daily. And on that, I'm finished. That's one chapter, one long chapter. Thank you for your patience. I hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up if you did. And, give me a like if you did. If you have any comments, listen to the... I don't know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, Hiki. No, you're welcome, my friend. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments after you listen to the parts you missed, it's a little long because I get a little long-winded sometimes. 16 pages long, chapter 1 was. I can't tell you how long chapter 2 is. I lost count. But I'll just say this. I can get a little long winded when I write in details. I love details. You can make any suggestions if you don't like it. I have no problem if you don't like it. If you do, I appreciate it. Still, either way, I'm glad you subscribed. I got more people subscribing. I can't name anybody. I can't think off the top of my head. Other than you, my friend. It's a friend of mine from England who does Sims 3 streams, and I think I got one of the people off of there who subscribed to my channel. I have 20 subscribers now. You're my first. I'm honored to call you that. Say that. But I want you to know, book one is in the process of publishing. They're editing right now. That's a good thing. I'm glad that. That's the hard part. I added chapter one as I was going reading to you. I don't know how many changes I made to my book in the process. Small changes, big changes, spelling errors, name changes. I had to change some names because one character is not even in the first chapter. Other than just name. Oh, you know, hold on. Show you some of the drawings I made that go with the book, chapter 2. I think. All right, let's see. All right, I think I showed you this before. This is a power core for my stories. But I think I had a tower in the middle, which I didn't include in this picture because I drew this before I wrote it up. All right. I'll show you this. Bridge of a rebel vessel. Droid. And you probably guess R2D2 was my baseline. Data pad. Decided to make IBM and Apple like to come together, merge into one company. Symbol of the Galactic Empire. Oh. That was the core of the Dark Star. That's a Y. Oops, sorry. Right there is a Y wing for scale. Okay. That right there is the symbol of the Rebel Alliance. All right, somewhere there it is. Silver Diner. Cry Your Brine. You remember the show Star Blazers? That's what gave me the idea for the anchor. My speeder bike I introduced in book 2. It's Harley Davidson. It's the only motorcycle I ever use. Oh, that's the Gazalian language and numbers. It's like 26 letters in their alphabet. Maybe more, but that was just an idea I was working on. I actually used a keyboard in the book. I introduced the Gazalian language in the keyboard. But I think that, I don't know. I don't remember if I do or not. All right. Now let's see what else have I got here. That's Magdalene's face. Oops. That's the face of Magdalene, the Grandmaster Samurai, the Samurai Master. Cyclops. Let's see. Infantry fighting vehicle, scout vehicle, Imperial scout vehicle. I call it the Striker. That's the interior of the Striker. I like the jaw, as you can tell. That's the Vogon Simeon. Originally, that was going to be my Nagano warrior, but then I was like, I redo it, repurpose it, different design. Now, this earlier in the book, I think before you came on, I introduced the Tellurians, which is now an extinct species, dead 75,000 years. These might be living relatives of that species. Somewhere I have a drawing of their rivals. That's one of these jump gates I talk about. Spaceship. Right there in the middle for its scale. I can't. Sorry, I guess I'm blocking my picture. Here. Yeah, it's hard to do this. There it is, right under my index finger. It's a ship for scale. One of my favorite characters, Gazalians. It's one of my races I created early on. A lizard-like creature. More alien, another alien race I created. Tabane, I think it's called. They're called the Tabanes. Tabeans. I don't know how you would pronounce it. It was a character I created for the. This might have been the first book. I forget. Yeah. Slave one, I repurpose it as Slayer, sort of like Slave one from Star Wars, but I don't use all the stuff I only know what they had in the Slave one. Characters. Yeah, those are characters. Okay. Hold on, I think I have one more notebook. One of my recent designs I made. You ever heard of the Hawkeye AWACS aircraft? I made a space worthy. The U.S. Navy uses on their aircraft carriers. Okay. Oh, this is a Imperial battle cruiser. Now, let's see, you see the super cruiser. That is a super battle cruiser. That's so you'll these things. Oh, sorry, right here does come up later in the book. I will not tell you what those are. But these guys here on the end of the bow of the ship appear at the end of the book. Well, not end, but later in the book. Okay. Oh, and this is an EVA suit shoulder pack. One press of the button up on the shoulder, right there, and the suit turns into a spacesuit or environmental suit, whatever you need it for. That sound used on the spacesuits, EA suits. Oh. And this is my T-wing. Yeah. I know I got some more stuff in here. Oh, it's the Royal Skiff from the book. I just read chapter 1. Trimaran, 3-hulled ocean vessel. the rings that you see. I talked about the storage rings used as ancient warships. Yeah, it's not my best, but this is a Pomerian skull. It's like a Triceratops. That's what I had the idea for. The horns and all that on the nose and everything that you see. Ooh. Okay. Now this one is this is a Tellurian missile battle cruiser. As you can see, I love destroying stuff. And then here also, that is the Pomerian battle cruiser. Yeah, Pomerians. Okay, this is the royal family crest of the Rickover family from the Terran star system. Not very good, but it's better than. Oh, and that's a Terran. I know I got stuff in here. Guys, introduce. Hang on, one more page, one more book to go through. Go now. Actually, it's the T-Wing itself I'm using currently. As you know, this was the Imperial battle cruiser, as it is right now. I'm sorry, super battle cruiser. That's an Imperial battle cruiser. Sorry, I'm just looking for stuff. Introducing the book. And then Geisel City and Beta Geisel. I'm done, so don't worry. I thought I had more stuff. Oh, don't worry about it, guys. That's all I have. That was chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening, Hiki. I will do chapter 2 tomorrow. Maybe sooner before 3 because I also listen to a guy at 3 o'clock. Thank you, my friend. I gotta visualize stuff so I can see what I'm looking when I put stuff in my book. I gotta draw it. Like at the end of my book, I have a major gun battle going on, and I introduced a new weapon. I haven't even drawn it yet, but it's crazy how big it is. I had two battles in the second book, by the way. The second battle happens at causes the end of the second book. And the second book ends with a cliffhanger. That's all I gotta say about the second book. I know I keep saying it, but I like to. But I won't tell you what happens. Just say it's gonna be a fun one. You'll like it. Thank you, my friend, for listening. You have a good day, my friend, or good night. I will talk to you again, or I'll see you tomorrow. You be good. God bless you. You're welcome, my friend. I hope you enjoyed my first reading of chapter 1 from what you missed. I started a little before 3. Tomorrow I am going to start before 3 because I had to also listen to another live stream at 3 o'clock. Probably 2 o'clock when I do it. Yeah, and I don't plan on having another accident like I did today with my drink. Spilled a whole damn drink on the excuse me. Spilled the whole drink of soda on the floor. Oh, I hate that. Bye, my friend. See you later.